I'm like mid bite of like a pickle, and I look up, and Mr. Dills is just like looking down at me with the most like ashamed look. So I was kind of like his star pupil at that point in time. I was a sophomore in high school and I met my now good friend, Mr. Dills. And Mr. Dills was the graphic design teacher at my high school and is probably one of the most genuine, awesome guys I've met to date. So I enrolled in his class because I was told that, for one, it was relatively easy, and two, that it was actually interesting. And because I had SpeedCubeShop at that point in time, I figured that learning how to use Photoshop and Illustrator probably was not a bad idea. And actually, that has paid off substantially because I was doing a lot of my graphic design up until Carlos twisted my arm into letting him do it. So I enrolled in this class, and it starts off very like status quo, absolutely no eating, no liquids by the computers, which is a reasonable request, I would say. And everyone would get their work done. It was all cool. Well, as the months went by, the class progressively got more and more laid back, and you'd see people like drinking sodas by the computers or just playing video games. And I would always actually get my work done because it was interesting to me. But it got to the point where I actually met Carlos in that class, funny enough, and we were sitting side by side. And I started actually editing and like removing the backgrounds on my product pictures for SpeedCubeShop. So I just would go through the website and pretty much update and cut out every single picture. And I think I had like 400 or so pictures at that point in time I had to cut out, and it was quite the project. So I just would sit there in class, cut them out. Mr. Dills was cool with it as long as I got my regular work done, and he actually eventually just let me turn that work in as my homework, which was pretty awesome. But I just started noticing that I would get my best work done on a full stomach. So I would every single day bring the same lunch. It was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, flaming hot Funyuns, and a dill pickle, sometimes two. And I remember this one day, like, I really tried to not eat or drink near the computers, but everyone else was like eating. And it was like a earlier morning class. So I was like, if I hadn't really had like a big dinner the night before, I'd get kind of hungry. And it started off with like one chip here or there. And then it moved into maybe a bite of a pickle or maybe a half of a sandwich, And it just gradually turned into like a 3-course meal to where I would like be working, sandwich in one hand, Funyuns in the other hand, and then I would move on to the pickles. And I had this going for like 3 weeks solid with not one hiccup. The way the desks were, they were like in, they had like these walls to where you couldn't quite see like what you were working on. You could just see like your head. So the way it was oriented, I had Mr. Dills all the way over there. And anytime he'd get up, we would just kind of like, I'd have my backpack up on the desk, just kind of like slide the food underneath there, like kind of cover it. And one day I was pretty involved in what I was working on. I don't know what I think I was tracing something on Illustrator. And all I know is I'm like mid-trace and Carlos like elbows me a little bit, like nudges me. I'm like mid-bite of like a pickle, and I look up, and Mr. Dills is just like looking down at me with the most like just like ashamed look. So I was kind of like his star pupil at that point in time. So he kind of just like looked down at me and just like shook his head and didn't even say anything. And like just him not saying anything was like that disappointed parent look where it's like, I'm not even mad, I'm just disappointed. I felt so bad I never had a pickle in that class again, I think for like another month. Then I started on my pickle spree again. But yeah, it was kind of funny because it was like, man, I'm for sure gonna get kicked out and whatever, but it ended up being fine. And I went on to make many more projects in that class and took it throughout the whole rest of my high school. And we're still good friends today. And he loves seeing all the progression I've done with SpeedCubeShop. And he was actually at our summer open event. So that's what I mean is maybe sometimes taking the right classes does pay off. And I definitely enjoyed my time in graphic design with or without the pickles.